Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast, which is brought to you by the baddest helmets in the Harley game, Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Head on over to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com and check out all the models, finishes, and visor options and get yourself dialed in with one of the best helmets on the market. Check them out, folks. BoostedBrad.com is a great place to find some badass products for your motorcycle, such as bar and riser setups, pegs, mid-controls, quick detached sissy bar setups for FXRs and early model Dynas. Brad has a product for any budget. Check out all the products and badass apparel, and don't forget to use Fast Life at checkout and save yourself 5% at BoostedBrad.com, and give him a follow on Instagram at BoostedBrad. Lexan Moto is growing fast and looking to onboard new dealers in 2020. So whether you're a small independent shop or a 20,000 square foot mega store, Lexan Moto has a partnership that will work for you. With awesome new gear and more on the way, Lexan offers very competitive dealer margins, fast shipping, and great customer service. If you're interested, email them at sales@lexanmotorcycle.com, and be sure to check them out at Facebook at Lexan Moto USA and Instagram at Lexan Moto. Don't forget, if you just want to buy yourself one, go to lexan-moto.com and use Fast Life at checkout for 15% off. Are you looking for an upgrade idea for your HD? Well, one of the best mods you can do is a Thunder Max computer upgrade. Its ability to auto-tune to your bike's upgrades and riding conditions without the need of a dyno make it an amazing product. Thunder Max is your go-to for reliable performance. To check out their ECM applications and many other products to give your Harley-Davidson some new life, head on over to shoptmax.com and follow Thunder Max EFI on Instagram. John Jessup's Dream Rides is a spot if you're looking to have anything done to your Harley-Davidson. His shop in Stockton, California is a spot for in-house dyno tuning, parts, service, and bike sales. And if nothing else, head on over to teamdreamrides.com, which is offering 100 days, same as cash financing on all products. All you need is a job and a bank account. And don't forget to give John and the team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. Paint Huffer Metal Flake is the shit. And it's the choice by many, if not all, painters in the world. Check out painthuffer.com to see the vast amount of color options and many other products to help you in the custom paint process. And don't forget to use FastLife12 at checkout and save yourself 10% off. And I want to say this weekend, February 14th, I believe, Brian's doing another one of his live paint shows. So if you're in the Phoenix area, it'd be a good time to come out down there in Chandler, Arizona, and check out all the badass artists that's going to be there, and get yourself some flake and some swag while you're down there. So check them out. You can find out more info on this at Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram. And like I said, give them a follow. Cool. Big Bear Performance is the go-to for high-quality performance products for your FXR, Dyna, Softail, and performance bagger needs. Along with being the industry leader in OLED suspension sales, service, and tuning, check out BigBearPerformance.com, and you can always give Kevin a call and get the info and answers for your motorcycle's upgrades at 909-479-7788. Give him a holler, folks. What's up? Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. That's us. I want to thank you guys for making last month one of the biggest months download-wise in our history of this podcast. And currently, we are on the path to blow that record out of the water. And I want to thank you guys for checking out all the stuff we're doing. And, thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's very motivating. This podcast is done with Jade affiliated. He is a guy who has been in the machining world, the CNC machining. He's been making wheels and stuff for years and years and years. From the big wheel stuff to the now performance-oriented things, he's been kind of evolving with our culture, and really excited to have him on the podcast today, and looking forward to actually our collaboration that me and him are doing together to try to bring a little bit more options to the performance Harley-Davidson spectrum with some wheel options. So there's a lot of badass guys out there. You got, Hoffman doing some really sick shit. You got, Lindahl's always created some really badass wheels, and you have the generic, carbon fiber wheels that, doesn't really give you much of an option to show your personality in your bike, but I get it. They're there. Not trying to talk shit, but it is just a basic wheel. But what Jade is trying to do, he's really trying to expand his business, and I'm really excited to have him on this podcast. And his quality of wheels is fucking phenomenal. So whether he's building something to go on a chopper, a bobber, a fucking big wheel, an everyday tour, he's making some cool shit. So really excited to have him on. He's done a lot of things for a lot of people that in the industry. And so not going to waste too much more time. Here he is, Jade Affiliated.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Not this close.
Yeah.
The closer, the better.
Perfect.
Shit. Welcome to the podcast, dude.
Dude, it's awesome to be on this. Super excited. Been looking forward to it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, when you reached out to me, it's like, oh, man, I didn't know you were into fucking the performance shit at all,
Dude, I love performance, since day one. It's just coming from a sport bike background and all that stuff, and always working in the Harley scene. Mm-hmm. You always wanted to do it, but
yeah,
it's just like nobody else wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I first started doing this, when I was like 16, 17, mm-hmm. everybody was still, baggers weren't the cool thing yet. We used to call them geezer glides and all that kind of stuff because only the old guys rode them. Everybody else was on dynos, FXRs, and Softails were a huge thing here. Mm-hmm. So never really gave any attention to performance, so you just leave it alone at that point when nobody wants to do it. And, it's finally come around, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, so you started learning the programming of the wheels and all that stuff from like working with your pops at what was the company called originally?
Oh, Ride Right Wheels.
And he was doing.
Yeah, so pretty much. I started just by assembling wheels in the back, mm-hmm. just like anybody else, sweeping floors, putting wheels together, boxing stuff up.
Yeah.
And then once I learned about the wheels more, he was like, "All right, time to teach you how to run the business, do sales." So then I got inside, started learning all the bikes, different models, mm-hmm. what the offsets are, and what's the biggest you could fit without modifying anything. And then one day I was just sitting in the back of the shop going, all right, half the machines are sitting idle. Mm-hmm. We're not coming up with any new stuff. It's just stagnant.
Yeah.
And after a year of that, I was like, went online, found a couple schools around here that'll teach you how to do the programming, and just mm-hmm. signed up.
What was that like going into that field? Being around the machines, I guess you were more familiar with it than, maybe a fresh off the street kid going into that stuff?
Oh, just being around them was dope because you see this chunk of aluminum go into a machine, and then 5-10 minutes later you got a finished part that's nice mm-hmm. and shiny depending on who was running it. And just taking a chunk of metal that people won't look twice at and turning mm-hmm. it into a work of art in a sense. I just thought it was awesome.
What was it like going into that school though? What kind of time did it take, and how hard do you think it was for you to learn this stuff?
It was pretty easy. I went in just for the machining side. Mm-hmm. The school offers like a full 2-year program where you start from everything from, deburring parts and using hand files and that kind of stuff to manual lathes and slowly work your way up. Luckily, I was able to jump ahead of all that and skip it because I knew how to do it from mm-hmm. just being around the shop all day, and just went straight into coding. And it wasn't too hard because, growing up around computers, it's just, that's it.
I see you got a nice little gaming rig going on back there in the back.
I got another setup just like that at home, and we grew up playing video games during the day and running around outside on the street at the same time. Mm-hmm. So just having that background and jumping into the whole programming, it was just natural. Yeah,
that's what I feel like that would probably be dope to kind of go in there and know exactly what you want to do. And I was talking to my buddy Justin just recently. He's actually the podcast that's out now. He kind of did the same thing, but he kind of grew up machining mm-hmm. with the like lathes and all that shit, and then worked into doing this stuff. But I don't know if he went to school for it though. I can't remember if he said he did or not.
See, the main reason I went into school for it mm-hmm. was we were just starting to do our billet line back in the day over at Ride Right. And I would have these ideas, and I would go talk to the programmer we had. I'm like, hey, can we do this, this, and that? And he would understand half of what I was saying.
Yeah.
And he would draw it up, and it would take about 2 weeks to just fine-tune everything to the way I had imagined it. it was just taking too long because now you're eating up this employee's time and he's not doing what he has to do, and it just backfired at the end of the day. So that's another reason I decided to just go to that school. Took the first class just to learn the general code so I could actually read what's going on with all those letters and numbers on the screen. And after that, literally just went on Amazon, bought a book for $30 and just flipped through the book and learned the rest of it.
So the coding, is it like some C++ shit when you're trying to code computers, or is it a little bit more simplified?
I think it's a little more simplified because it's literally, you got your X and your Y and your Z, and you just tell the machine to move to certain X, Y points. But with all the new programs, like right now I'm using Mastercam, I've used SurfCam before, and we also have Fusion 360. You don't really have to worry about all the X, Ys, and Zs and any of that stuff because the program puts all that out for you. You just need to know a few things, go through the beginning of the program, double check everything, make sure your coolant turns on in the beginning of the cycle, and just minor stuff, and then you just push it into the machine and run it.
What was the program that you just showed me where it like literally showed the toolpath, like the whole wheel being cut on the computer?
Oh yeah, that's part of Mastercam. It just pushes a rendering, and we have renderings of all the forgings that we use. So it's just like just double checking your work to make sure that all the tools clear and nothing hits, and it'll give you pretty almost 90% accuracy to what the part's going to look like when it's done on the machine. Other than that, the only thing you might need to adjust or change down the line is how fast you're cutting or how deep you're cutting.
So what does the slower cuts do? What? It just makes a smoother surface? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Certain tools, depending on their diameters, you could run them faster than other tools or slower than other tools. I mean, I could push a 3/4 inch end mill and have it screaming as it's just chunking out material, clearing out pockets. But then when I come in with a finishing tool, I want to run that a little slower RPM, slower feed rate, and then just get a smoother finish on the side of that edge. It all depends on what tool you want to run at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen guys at their shops, they refuse to run anything under a 1/2 inch. Some shops, 3/8. I've seen guys run 1.5 inch rougher.
Yeah.
Just pocket all that material out.
Get it out of there.
Yeah, it's all. Everybody has their own style.
Are you able to sell any of that aluminum chunks after you get done of it to recoup some of the money?
Oh yeah, dude.
Because there's piles and piles of aluminum.
Yeah,
chunks
my chip guy comes by once a week.
For real?
Yeah, he shows up with a wad of cash for whatever he pulled up the week before, and takes a new bin and drops off a fresh one.
That's awesome, man. It's super interesting, like you said, being able to watch something go from a block of aluminum to, a wheel or any kind of part someone can design. But so when you went to that school, man, so you did it for what, like 6 months, a year, or even that long, or what?
It was a 6-month class, but after the second month, I just stopped going.
For real?
Yeah.
So did you do like computer stuff before? Like, were you familiar with any kind of coding or programming?
Not at all.
Or
nothing. Honestly, the first month we had all the general coding, and our instructor, I think, if I remember right, his name was Mike, and he used to help out out with Jesse James back in the day. He used to do all his programming for him.
Okay.
And we just started chit-chatting about motorcycles and that kind of stuff. And then about 2 months into the class, he just kind of pulls me aside and he's like, here's this book. Take it home and just do it on your own. Because, you're sitting in a class with about 15 other guys, and half of them have zero experience with computer.
And they probably don't have a machine at the house that you can go fuck with.
Exactly. So they have I was bored. And you're just sitting around. We're still doing blocks and lettering on blocks and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just sitting there taking a nap in the back of the class. So the instructor gave me the book and gave me a bunch of homework to do, pretty much. And he was like, all right, on these days you got to turn this stuff in. As long as you turn it in, your grades are fine. And that's all I did.
Nice. So, you still had to have this other part of creating things, and that's called creativity.
Yeah.
So where do you think you kind of gathered a lot of your ideas for this stuff? Is it kind of working off what's out there and kind of redefining it, or how would you say? Because the wheel company, if I may, is like just wheels in general, man. There's just so much shit out there. There's so many, and there's only so many ways you can do it. So, I get how scary it could be trying to create something new or trying to recreate something. I don't know how you deal with that shit. So
it's a little bit of both. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's this or that, but a lot of times I'll have an idea in my head and I'll draw it out and all that kind of stuff. and then I'll go back on everybody else's website and start staring at their wheels to make sure I don't have something similar. Mm-hmm. But eventually you've come to find out, like, oh, okay, I saw it on this guy's wheel on some picture on Google, and next thing you know, you're kind of just recreating it. Mm-hmm. So most of those designs end up in the trash, mm-hmm. or just in some giant bulk folder on the computer.
Yeah.
For
one day.
Just for backup. In case you come up with that idea again, you already have it. But the other part, car wheels. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cool car wheels out there. I mean, from off-road wheels to racing wheels. We actually did one of our wheels based off the HRE wheel, that full titanium 3D printed one that they had.
Yeah.
Fell in love with that. So we did something similar to it. And a lot of the other times, it's literally just grabbing a sketch pad and just scribbling on it.
Yeah.
You start scribbling lines and drawing stuff, and something finally pops in, and you're like, all right, that's it.
I remember, so I did a wheel for Sinister a long time ago, and I just sketched it, right? And I remember how much time, I spent flipping through not only car wheels but the motorcycle wheels.
Yeah.
Finding every possible variation that could resemble this wheel that I did, and nothing was out there. Like, there was nothing that did this, and I'm proud of it because I found something and it worked out real well for Sinister.
Dude, it's a huge deal. I mean,
then it comes out. It's like, okay, that's cool. Now, fuck yeah, I can design wheels now. There was this part though where it's like I sketched it, someone recreated it in the CAD. And I feel like that's the real creator, because I just, it's like you could have just gave me some crayons. Like I said, yeah, I like this. And then you do that. This dude went in here with all this knowledge that I don't have, to put all these X, Y's, and Z's together to create this fucking piece of art.
Yeah.
But like whenever you guys hit us up, when Sean kind of put us together, it was like, fuck, man. Like, yeah, I'm going to sit down and draw some wheels. Because I kept telling you, hey, man, I'm going to work on it. And I'm like, fuck, man, like, I don't think I got it. You know what I mean?
It's not that. It's like you either have the creativity aspect or you don't. And you got it because of all the paint jobs and all the stuff you do. But you go through like these, let's just call them dry spells.
Yeah.
Literally, there was a time last year where we were knocking out a new design every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they were just selling.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool, this is dope. Then all of a sudden, for the past 4 months, I've just been racking my head against the wall and just going, okay, what the hell?
Yeah.
Can't come up with anything new.
Exactly.
So it's just one of those where it just comes and goes, and I don't know what affects it with me, whether it's just I'm letting my ADD just go wild. Because I've seen that helps a lot, just kind of bouncing from one thing to another. Next thing you know, you got an idea for a wheel in your head.
Yeah, what was crazy to me is because, like I said, I can really appreciate, like, wheel designs. And coming from the big wheel stuff from back in the day, like, you guys have always created these wheels that are just sick as fuck. Mm-hmm. But now that we're in this performance side of things, it's like that wheel's sick, but it just doesn't kind of jive with this style of bike anymore. Yeah. But like y'all did that one where it's kind of like a 5-spoke, I think, but then the centers had like this cross pattern going down, I think, or was that?
Yeah.
Or was that a?
Well, there was like 3 little X's down the same spoke.
I think so.
Yeah, that was we called it the kicks wheel because it looked like a pair of laced up Jordans.
Yeah. I thought that was sick as fuck.
Yeah, it's dope. But here's the problem: we cut that on a 30 with 3 X's going down it. Well, now if you bring it down to a 21, you can't do the 3 X's down each spoke because it's just going to look funny.
Two bunched up.
Yeah, 2 bunched up. So you got to do 2, or maybe just like 1.5. That's a big problem with going from a big wheel to a performance wheel. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got a couple of big wheel designs in the back that we had to cut in 21s. Well, you want to downsize them and shrink them down a bit, but you don't want to throw the design off. You don't want to have it being too bulky, but at the same time, you want it thick enough and to take the weight of the bike.
I remember for sure that same concept, because back in the day when I was doing sport bikes, I was doing like PM wheels on sport bikes. Yep. Like you would get like a Lux wheel. I remember this for a fact because I did it. I got it for a Lux wheel for my Gixxer, loved it. And then when I built my first big wheel, I'm like, I'm going to do that wheel again. Did not look the same. And actually, did a Lux wheel. Did not look the same as a 26. I actually didn't like it because it was so thin going up.
Yeah, it gets sketchy. You're just looking at it, you're like, oh, man, this spoke's a ½ inch at the rim. Oh, shit. Dyslexia kicking in.
So, but I mean, like I said, it had it was just crazy how these factors go into these wheels from size differences and stuff like that. And even like now we were talking about out there how much like weight you can save just by doing a stepped lip versus a nice rolled lip. Because I remember it went from like everybody wanted a rolled lip because of the look, but fuck, man, that's what'd you say? How many pounds like on a average of like a 21 or 23?
For like a 21 or 23, you're knocking off at like 5 pounds.
That's significant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, first time I really noticed the weight savings was when we did those the M8 FXR wheels, the Unlucky 13s for Jeff. Dude, that wheel without the hubs, the front wheel was a 19. It weighed about, no hubs, it was about 7 pounds, and the rear was 6.
That's crazy.
And you throw the hubs on, it's another 4 or 5 pounds, but you still got a 15-pound wheel altogether.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah, it's dialed in. But yeah, those kind of things are what really goes into it. And for the longest, man, like, now that the performance scene has kind of grown, and I guess now looking back, I mean, you're creating wheels for a lot of people and shit, but the performance, there just wasn't a lot of options. Like, everybody was just redoing FXR wheels, or they're like the 13 spoke or the 9 spoke. There was no real style coming in. And you know, PM had their board tracker looking wheels, which looked dope.
Yeah, those are definitely cool.
It's just, you know, like, variety. Like, it's almost like you want the same kind of variety that the big wheel guys have or the lowrider scene has.
Oh yeah.
For these wheels, that way these bikes can start having their own identities and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we've been working on for the past, 7-8 months. It's just a matter of fine-tuning the designs, and biggest thing for us wasn't just the designs, it was making sure we had the right hubs to go with that design, because last thing you want to do is just shove a round hub that weighs like 4 pounds on this awesome looking performance wheel. So we're still messing around with different hub styles and taking out more material and testing out what's too much and what's too little, because you still got to be safe.
Yeah,
it's still got to look good. It's still got to perform right.
Yeah, exactly.
I could make a wheel weigh 5 pounds with the hubs on it, but second you hit that front brake and
put an 800-pound bike on top of it.
Oh yeah, you're just gonna wrinkle it up. So it's just one of those trial and error kind of things where we keep playing around, and we got a testing lab out in the Midwest that does all our stuff for us.
Oh, that's nice.
You send it out with 3 tires. They'll put a beading to it to make sure it stands up, and they'll send you a report like, hey, scrap this design or keep it.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I mean,
so, and I mean, like, once you got out the class, like, how did it work for you? Did you start programming for your pops and stuff, or what?
I started running the machines. I just became a setup operator on a lot of the mills in the back, and eventually moved over to the lathes. Did that for about 7 or 8 months while we had our programmer still running there, and then one day, programmer walks in the morning and says, "Hey, I got a job offer I can't refuse. It's at this company, and they want me to start in 2 weeks." So that was pretty much the day that everything just, went into high gear. My dad came back to me. He's like, "All right, you're going to be in charge of this. You've had 6 months to kind of learn. It's time for you to step in and take the place." Didn't end up having the 2 weeks. The guy just never showed the next day. Yeah. So it was a pretty big scramble trying to figure out how to program stuff to that extent, because the motorcycle stuff was easy. The lathe stuff was easy. We weren't doing much 3D stuff back in the day, but the biggest hurdle we had was those Can-Am Spyders, those 3-wheelers. We were making aftermarket wheels for them, and we were doing it for 2 other companies, and we were only making the rear. Well, all the designs had to be laid over a curved surface, and you're doing a 3D surface over a curved surface, and it was just like way too complicated for me at that time, because I'd barely gotten my fucking feet wet yet doing just regular stuff, and now all of a sudden I'm in the deep end. So it was a crash course. It worked out at the end, and just from there, it's just took over managing the shop and managing all production in the back. Spoke wheels are easy. You got the hub. The spokes were made on a separate machine. They're 3/8-inch stainless steel, and they're threaded at the end. Easy. The hubs were easy. And
that's what your pops makes a lot of those, right?
Yeah, that's his main thing was the spokes. We started getting into the billet, messed around with a few funky things like the 3-piece wheel. I think we did one back in 09, where it kind of bubbled up from the center all the way out to the outer lip, so it was bolted in through the hubs in the center and then bolts around the outside. Did about 6 sets of those just for local guys here and there, and got in the magazine, and that kind of gave us a boost on the billet side there. Pushed a few more wheels, but everything was OEM. We weren't doing big wheel. Biggest we'd ever offered was a 23, just because it's easier to sell those, because that's where everyone wants.
They've always said, like, you're gonna sell 5 to 10 sets of, or 5 to 10 stock size wheels versus 126 or 23 is what I've heard. But
Yeah.
I guess now, I mean, fast forwarding now, like you're kind of known for.
Yeah, it's complete opposite.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, there's been so much that's happened in the industry in the last 10 years in wheel companies. So it's like, you know, it kind of like it seems like it all just kind of landed in your lap for the most part.
It did. It really did. I mean, the way all this started was I saw an opportunity one day to, hey, we could really make a push into the billet line over at Ride Right. I approached my dad about it, and he was just like, I'll think about it. Comes back to me 2 days later. He's like, you know what? How about you just start it and do it on your own? I was like, sure. Why not? Ran out of there for 2 months, just waiting till December showed up, just to, you know, tax reasons and all that stuff. Opened up the company end of December. And by January 1st, I was in this place and just running.
Yeah, so you've been here for how long?
Going into my 3rd year now.
Damn.
So
How do you like it?
it's fun.
Scary being alone?
It's boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
You need TVs everywhere, man.
Dude, I was thinking about that. That's why I got this set up in the back.
In the back.
Some entertainment, some noise.
I'm the same way. I'm in my shop all day with myself, and it's weird because like you'll have somebody call you like, and then you'll be on the phone for 2 hours, man. Like, just, hey, man, you know, don't go, you know.
No, I hear you on that, dude. I mean, sad part is we don't get a lot of phone calls. A lot of people are just online.
DMs and shit.
Yeah, I'll sit on Instagram for 6 hours a day just replying to comments, replying to messages and all that kind of stuff and emails.
Yeah.
It's like, back in the day, it was just phone would ring, you'd pick it up and you'd talk to the customer. Nowadays, it's just like, hey, how much is this? All right.
Yeah, I don't answer those guys.
Yeah.
I know everybody's got a different business model, but it's like, you know, I try to shove people through DMs, and now I'm trying to shove them through emails because the DMs get fucking like overran with basic questions. How much to paint my helmet? And I'm like, can you elaborate what we're talking about here? You know, and it gets to the point where it's like it's weird because you don't want to sound like an asshole and be like, I'm too busy to fuck with you right now.
Right.
But at the same time, like, dude, like, why? Just tell me what you're thinking about doing. You know?
Yeah, no, I get guys like that. How much for a set? Okay, what size?
What?
Like, you want a 34? You want a 16?
Yeah, what are you
Let
trying
me know.
to do,
You want
man?
it chrome? You want it black? You want two-tone? You want rotors? Like, there's a list of questions that goes with it. To where at this point, I've almost gotten ready to just make like this little list on my phone that just copy paste it, have them fill it in like a little form. And they can just shoot that back over to me whenever they're ready.
Dude, what I'm trying to do is like, I need to find someone that, because I built my website, which my website's nothing to brag about. It's just like the bare bones. Hey, this is some information. You can see our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But I want to do a section on the website that's like helmets that I can update, or but it has like all the information about how we do our helmets, what it is. That way I can just direct everybody to that. They can read it. There's pictures of helmets and options. And then there's a form that if they're interested, after they saw what kind of price range it is, that they can fill out.
Exactly.
And then the next process can start, because it's
it weeds out all the tire kickers.
yeah. I mean, fortunately, like a lot of people that end up asking us about helmets, they actually want to pull the trigger, right? And they're not cheap; they're expensive. But then, you know, there is a bunch of those guys though too that are like, oh man, you know, I can't spend that much on a helmet. And I'm like, man, it's just not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't wish. I like the fact that I have something that's valuable to people and they want to spend the money.
Yeah.
So
no, I hear you on that. Like, I'm the same way. There's certain things from my bike that I want to buy, but I just can't see myself pulling the trigger for it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a value thing, right? I mean, like, some people, you know, have that money to throw around and other people's don't. But then there's also people that, you know, before anything, they'll go drop, you know, $7,000 on oil and suspension for their bike before anything else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you can't, I don't know. I mean, we're all different in that sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me to drop all that money on suspension first, especially if you need it. I mean, God knows I need suspension for my bike.
So what kind of riding were you doing back in the day, like with the sport bikes? Like just kind of carved canyon around here, or just?
Did some track. Used to borrow a buddy's Gixxer 750, and we used to go up to Button Willow every once in a while, or Fontana when they were open.
Yeah.
Other than that, just street riding, highways.
Yeah.
Never really got into stunning.
Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to do it on the Busa.
That's a big bike to be stunned, man.
It was a really dumb idea back then. I've gone through 3 tails on that bike within 6 months, just trying to wheelie.
I've wheelied a Busa before, but not like wheelie like you're probably thinking. I've got a Busa to come up, which is not very hard.
Just rolling through.
And then when it does, it's like an eclipse. of like you can't see past the bike.
That
You're just
thing
like
is so wide.
It's a big bike that you can't see through the fork hole like you could. Like you used to be able to like rip up a bike and then you could see
you
through
can't
the
just
hole.
peek through.
You know, I used to have like an F4i. That's what I learned to wheelie on.
Those are great.
Yeah, and then but yeah, man, those fucking bikes are crazy. I had one for a while that I really enjoyed riding, but every once in a while, we've been talking about it more. It's like I wouldn't mind having a sport bike, but I got a belly now. You know what I mean?
That's why I got the Busa.
Yeah.
It's made for guys with bellies that still want to go fast. Like, it's great. About 9 years ago, we rode it all the way out to Phoenix.
Damn.
Just on a whim. It was Memorial Day weekend. My buddy hit me up. He was like, hey, let's go to the Heart Attack Grill out in Arizona. I was like, all right.
Shit, and you went and had a fucking greasy ass burger.
Oh God, we got carted
They
out
opened
in
that
a
place.
wheelchair.
They opened that Heart Attack Grill place in Dallas, and we have a district called the West End, which is like right by where Kennedy got shot and stuff. And they opened it up, and they made a big deal of it about how they're using like real lard or whatever to grill this shit. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's so good." And I went there. I was like, "That shit was a gross burger to me. I didn't dig it at all."
I mean, we left here on a Friday night, stopped in Thousand Palms or out by Morongo's at a buddy's mom's house. We got drunk down the street, rode into Phoenix hungover the next day. So that burger worked out for us. It
Nice.
helped
Oh,
kick the
it got all that
hangover
going.
off. But dude, it wasn't.
Have you ever been down to like Slab City and all that shit down there?
No.
Dude, we didn't go through that, but we went through Glamis and all that area. It's like that's a part of California I've never really ridden or explored. And now going through it, like I want to ride a bike through there now.
Yeah, I saw your Instagram story. It
Yeah.
looked dope. I've never been down that far.
Dude, it's cool. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, that Slab City, I was telling my wife about it. It's like that town where like people that don't want to conform to society like us, they all just kind of made a community down there. I don't know. I thought it'd be cool, but it's also one of those deals. Like, do you think they'd be cool if I just came down there and started taking selfies in their lifestyle, like kind of like parading, like, oh, look at this technology, and you're,
You might want to roll deep if you did that. I wouldn't go there solo.
yeah, for sure. But no, man, this area, man, like you literally, any direction you go, you're gonna hit some fucking hills, man. You know?
Yeah, dude. I mean, we used to go up to the Rock Store in Mulholland Canyon all the time. Tuesday nights at Cook's Corner down here.
Yeah.
We just haul ass down there, grab a few dollar tacos, a beer or two.
Yeah.
And then the ride home was great because you're leaving there at like 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Have you been to Born Free much or checked any of that out?
Went to it for like 2 or 3 years after they moved over to Irvine Lake. The past 2 years, I haven't had a chance to go.
Yeah.
Every time it comes up, there's always something, or I'm out of
Something,
town, or just busy here at work.
It's a good show, man. It's
It's
kind of
dope.
growing, kind of growing. It's a fucking huge show now.
Oh yeah, I remember when it was just they'd block off a corner at a lot and have a case of PBR outside, and it's like, hey, come on, have a beer and enjoy.
For sure. So you ended up jumping onto what'd you say you had now, a Road King or
Bought a Road Glide.
Road Glide?
Yeah, it got to the point where I had 2 Busas and a 84 GPZ 1100 sitting in the garage. And I'm just looking at them like, I don't ride these things. I don't need them anymore. I need something to put my wheels on it and showcase.
Yeah.
So I traded in the 15 Busa, and then I found somebody to buy my GPZ for a pretty good price, considering the thing didn't run.
Yeah.
And then I left the Turbo Busa because no one's dumb enough to buy that.
Yeah.
And just went out and bought the 19 Road Glide. Just got a base model. Debated on the 114, called Sean over at TOL, and he was just like, no, just bring me the bike. I'll make it faster.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we'll get there. So I've been saving up for that 128 on it, and got that set of Olins there, which I'm not even sure if it's going to work or not, or if they're too short, or what the deal is with them.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to do a design a drop tree. Like I said, the fork cartridges are not long enough for Harleys. So you'll see there's companies like what is it?
I've seen a couple guys did the drop tree where it's like a 2-inch drop from where it sat on the top clamp to come down.
And so they do that. That way you can run like Gixxer front forks and stuff like that, so that you don't have to buy the $4,000 front end. You could buy the
Just a
$300 front forks off eBay.
Yeah.
And then you buy these overinflated trees that they charge for this. So it's still a $3,000 setup, but I mean, you can make trees.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with those, they're 58 millimeter lowers. So I'm just like, who's going to make trees? I think 58 millimeter,
That's a thick ass
54
tree.
millimeter upper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just like, I might just say, screw it, put that up on a wall as a display, or use it as a display at shows. Just throw a wheel in the center on
that'd
it,
be
throw
cool.
some rotors and some calipers, and then just bite the bullet.
One of the other things that like I've enjoyed about more professional wheel companies is like the fact that since y'all do so many stock applications, and what's cool about this performance bike stuff is that we're not really putting, you know, wider back tires on or back rims, so we're not really having to worry so much about like trying to create spacers and shit. So I like the fact that these wheels come kind of ready to roll.
Yeah, it's all OEM bolt on. I mean, the only thing you might have to change is your rotors if you have the large bolt pattern floating style that the standards do. But I mean, if you get a special or a CVO, I think they all come with that standard 5 by 3.25 bolt pattern. So you could either run stock calipers or, you know, all those other high performance rotor companies that make their own stuff.
But yeah, that was one of the things, because like finding, you know, for just when you spend a lot of money on wheels, like the idea of plug and play is a really comforting notion than trying to find someone with a lathe to you know, find out the gaps and the spaces and line up your pulley or your chain and shit to try to get all dialed in. So
that shit's a nightmare.
Yeah. But I never understood, like, how come you can't just, like, you know, take this wheel and this spacer and this spacer and make sure it's all the same and then put a custom rim on it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, bearing depths, offsets, and all this stuff. And it's weird because the bagger wheel sits dead center, but the bearing on the right side sits just a hair further deeper than the left side does. And if you put it on backwards, you're not going to have a big problem, but your rotor is going to start rubbing a little bit if you're running your stock. But if you're running an aftermarket rotor, they're just a hair thinner to where it doesn't make a difference. It's just one of those weird...
They used to say you always want to install the brake side bearing on first. Is that the...
Yeah.
Like if you're doing a wheel or bearing change or some shit like that?
Yeah, they always say start with the left side and then work your way over to the right on the fronts, just to make sure everything seats and you're kind of floating the right side. Because that center spacer is a little bit longer than the bearing seats is. So... one side's always going to be floating, so they all say left side seat all the way and then float the right side. And on the rear, it's the other way around. Yeah. Because, I mean, the pulley has room to move from side to side. You just got to make sure your rear rotor is just dead center.
And you guys are making the cush drives, too, to go on the wheels, right?
Yeah.
How complicated is that? Or is it like one and done? Like, hey, I got one, I'm fucking leaving it alone.
It's a pain. It's a pain in the ass to machine. Yeah. Just because of the amount of time, the amount of material you're pulling out of there just to leave these little 5 fins in between. But, you know, you need to have
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, because it's easier than telling somebody, hey, you got to buy a pulley with the rest of your wheels and just make them, you know, more money and more problems, more shit. Because when you get a pulley, now you got to get different spacers for the rear because you're eliminating that whole
cush drive
setup. So it's just more work for them to do, and more shit could go wrong when you're doing more work stuff.
But, I mean, you still have the option to put an actual hub on the rear and do a bolt-in pulley that's spaced out. That way, if someone wants that more direct, you know, power or chain or something like that.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I got a bunch of those sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, I was like, when I first got into this stuff, I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm doing chain on everything. But since we ride so much, man, like I've just, and I'm not, if I do that 131 or the 128, then at that point I'll be like, all right, I think I'm going to put the chain on it. But right now, man, the belt is maintenance-less for the most part.
Oh, yeah, it's easy.
So,
I mean, on the sport bikes, every ride we had to come back and spray a bunch of lube on it, and every 1,000 miles you'd have to sit there and WD-40 the shit out of it to get all the old lube off, to re-lube it and check your chain. Yeah. The worst thing you could have happen is have your master link snap off on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Next thing you know, your chain's shooting out. And
you hope it shoots out. Sometimes they come back and would slap the case of the motors.
Oh, I got lucky.
I
got lucky the one time it happened and actually shot out and wrapped around the rear axle. Nothing happened. I was just like, okay.
Dude, I've seen people like, I would never use the clip-on chains. And I used to see people all the time. They'll do these big fucking stretch swing arms. They got clip-on master links. I'm like, dude, buy a tool. Put it on right, man.
It was like $30 for the tool.
You can get a cheap tool anywhere.
You just need it once and done.
The Motion Pro or some shit.
They work.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, man, I used that shit was crazy back in the day, watching people just not invest in the proper tools and stuff like that to do stuff.
I saw a dude. He had a 1000, a Gixxer, and he couldn't find a sprocket, so instead of sticking with a 530 chain, he was like, I'm just going to put a 520 on it. I have one on the shelf. I'm like, don't do it.
Dude, I got a story for you. Go ahead.
Barely made it 5 miles down the street. Dude, he blew his motor.
Wow.
Completely blew it. Chain came loose, went right through the casing. We were doing about 90 on the freeway when it happened. And just oil everywhere. The guy behind him went down because it's just
Yeah, just
had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to where I just swerved way out, and dude, it was a shit show. His motor was just complete toast. It wasn't just a casing cracked. It went in, chain went into the casing, got all jumbled up in the gears and everything, and just fried the motor, locked it up.
This so I had a Blue Dyna that I built. The first bike I came into the scene with, or the performance bike scene, and I did it, and I put a chain on it, and I put a I don't know what I know aluminum sprockets don't last very long, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't remember. I bought this chain kit off something, and I did a trip from Dallas to Phoenix on it. Got back, rode it around like local riding, and we're getting ready to go to Sturgis, and this company offered to send me a chain kit of theirs, and I told them what I had, and they sent it out, and they had like one of those bolt locker kits on it so it wouldn't back out.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing to say because it's something I should have caught. But I'm running a 530 chain. They sent me a 520 sprocket for a Harley. I don't know anybody running 520 shits for that. And
the last thing I saw with a 520 was those R3s, little 300cc.
Well, they used to do them on those sport bikes, for the racing because it's less material and the chain's lighter. But it's kind of
but you
horseshit.
throw it away after one race.
Exactly. So it was like a 520 or 5. It might have been a 525, but for sure there was slack in the chain.
Yeah.
And my brother was riding that bike to Sturgis with me, so I was like, "Fuck it, he's gonna learn it today." He made it there and back, and that sprocket was toast when he got back.
Shit.
Man, we had to put a new one on it.
Yeah, at least he made it back.
Yeah, he made it back, but yeah, that could have been on me.
Yeah, I don't get what the deal is with all that. I mean, just run a 530.
I don't know why people would have an option like, dude, it's a Harley. It needs to be at least, it doesn't just period. It needs to be 530.
Especially with all these new big motors. That's one thing that's been scaring the crap out of me. It's like, I got to start checking what size the motor the guy has before I sell him a wheel.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're gearing everything right now for like a 124, 128.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna determine a lot of things for like bolt tension and the material the hubs are made out of and all that shit. So you're gonna rip out, if you got a soft ass aluminum and you put some monster motor and everything's threaded in deep, that shit will rip those bolts out.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that's why we're, for the past week or so, I've just been going over stuff. Instead of using 5 bolts to bolt the 2 hub ends together, start using 10. 5 that hold the drive side on, and then another 5 from the brake side into the drive side, so everything's more secure, you get more torque. But then at the same time, there's not much you could do. I mean, we're all running aluminum, 6061 heat treated to T6. You can only, if you put too many holes in the wheel center, now you don't have enough material holding there.
Yeah.
But if you only use 5 bolts, are the bolts going to be strong enough? Now, do you want to go thicker bolts? Now you got to do a bigger hub. It just starts throwing shit all over the place. But I know the bolts we're running right now, they'll take that torque with no issue whatsoever. They're rated to like 8,000 pounds each bolt, 7/16/14. They're threaded 1.5 inches into the hub on the other end. So, I mean, I've never had an issue with a bolt snapping. I've seen guys snap their pulley bolts, or I've had guys take the hub apart to do something to the wheel, and they didn't put it together right, or they didn't use red Loctite, they didn't torque it to the right specs, and next thing you know, their pulley bolts back, their hub bolts back out. It's not that bad, because on the bike, when everything's torqued in, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to hit the gas and you're not going to go anywhere. But it's still scary having a wheel come apart, especially if it's on a front wheel. It's just like,
yeah,
that's bad. No brakes.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Well, the bolts backing out thing has been a plague on this Harley thing forever. I've even seen regular just stock wheels shit backing out, and so I still don't know what the real science behind it is. If it's like a wheel alignment issue or just you didn't torque it right issue. Like it's got to be something, that. Because I got buddies that would sit there and just fucking crank down on it. So it's like I know it's not it wasn't tight enough issue.
Well, it could be the bolt's too long. So it feels like it's torquing down, but the bolt head doesn't have that little bit of room to stretch into. So it's bottomed out, and they're torquing it. The torque wrench is clicking. Everything looks good. But the bolt's just bottomed out in the hole, and it's not going anywhere. And the hub feels tight. But as soon as you start riding, it all starts loosening up because the bolt's not really torqued down, and it just ends up backing out. The other thing is the bolt might be too small.
Yeah.
Not thick enough.
I remember the first time it started to bolt come out on me. I was actually, me and her was going to go ride to lunch, and Fortunately, I was in a parking lot, and she jumped on the back, and the bolts came out far enough and slapped the swing arm.
Yeah.
While I was kind of barely rolling, and it just stopped me. I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was able to catch all the bolts had kind of backed out. I was able to catch it all without it fucking anything up. And this was the day before I was going to ride it to Phoenix.
Oh, man.
So I went back to the house and I went to Home Depot, bought some of those gold bolts, and then I put lock washers, which I don't know.
Those were great.
Yeah.
Because it puts that extra pressure you need to stop it from starting to pull out.
Yeah, and I never, ever had to deal with that shit ever again.
Lock washers, I started putting them around the
They just don't look good.
on the hubs. Yeah, but on the hubs, I'm not worried.
People use them on the hubs all the time. I see it.
They're sunk in, so it's like they're not going to show. They lock it in good. It's just an added safety feature. And the only other option you really have is kind of what we used to do when we went to the tracks: drill a hole through it and put
the safety wire through everything.
safety wiring through it.
And that shit's complicated. And then what if you have to take it off, man?
It's a nightmare.
It's fucking. And it's like I don't want to deal with that shit.
We used to spend 4 hours a day just prepping our bikes for track, just taping up the headlights and all that shit, and safety wiring everything, just to get to go ride for 2 hours.
Yeah, that shit's drilling through the bolts to run the wires through it, and I get it, man. And I mean, I guess there's a place for it because you never know, man. Like you can do everything right and it could still snap. You know what I mean? But I honestly believe, and I still haven't got any confirmation, but I just feel like if that wheel in the back is cocked just the slightest bit, that sprocket rotating with like one edge pulling and one edge not is gonna like
it starts pulling it away.
Yeah, it starts pulling one side of it out, and it has to be something like that. I don't know.
Oh no, I would totally believe that.
Yeah,
because now you're pulling on one side continuously. You're slowly just peeling it away. The bolts are gonna the bolts are just gonna want to start backing out because something's got to give. Either the sprocket's gonna snap in half, or the bolt needs to back out. It's easier for the bolt to back than all that material to just shred off.
Break, yeah. And like I said, I think that if you because Harley doesn't really make a really nice wheel alignment setup. It's some complicated shit. You got like this long ass, protractor almost or whatever, and you're lining this hole to that center point, and it's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
sport bikes are better because they had the hash marks
They
everywhere.
had the little ruler on the back of the swing arm right around the bolt, and all you have to do is line up the top of the bolt, and you're done.
Yeah, this is way nicer.
It's so easy. I mean, I've had issues with mine. 19, barely had a couple hundred miles on, and the rear wheel started just wobbling on me. What the hell? Still a stock wheel. Went back there, and they had those ears on the end of the axle to tighten up the wheel.
Yeah.
Well, they had just moved a little bit.
Oh, and
one moved and the other didn't, and everything was just shaking.
That sucks. So what was it like, man? Like when you started, after you started designing the wheels, and I mean, when did you start designing wheels? From basically you were running the machines. How did
It's about 8 years ago.
8 years?
9 years ago, started designing and running. It was great having that freedom to just take over a section. I'm 32 now. I think it was 22 or 23 when I started doing it over there. So it felt great as a kid. I just gotten my business degree too from college and shit, which I don't think I've ever really needed or used, but whatever. It was dope because at that age, being able to just jump into the industry and start creating stuff that people just loved and wanted, it was a great feeling. And then being able to kind of step up in the company too. I'm not just a regular employee.
Yeah.
That was a cool thing about working for my dad. I was never treated as a boss's son.
Yeah.
I was always just the employee who's worked his way up there. So that was always dope. But yeah, just jumping into the whole designing thing, it's fucking awesome.
That's got to feel great to have like a program that you can think of anything you want and you know how to make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was like a lifesaver back then.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I want to throw this curve on this wheel, curve that line that way. I mean, I could draw better on my computer than I could draw on a sketch pad, which makes zero sense to me. But hey.
But you also spent how many hours on a computer drawing versus on a sketch pad?
Oh, dude, there's days where I'll spend about 12 hours a day in front of my computer at home in the garage just drawing stuff. Lights off, shit ton of energy drinks on the side, big old monitor, and just drawing.
So where do you think, like, taking the company, I mean, other than the wheels, have you ever thought about doing any other parts, or was it more just you're already fucking killing the wheel game right now, so.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely parts are always something. I mean, those triple trees I made for that set of Olins, those were supposed to go on my Busa when I put the turbo on it. But I couldn't find anybody to make triple trees for it. Wanted to make them back there. at my dad's shop. Never had the time, never had the downtime on the machines. And now that I'm doing my own shit here, it's just like, all right, I'm going to come in Sunday night, draw them up, throw them on the machine, run it till about 11 o'clock at night, and then go home and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Come back, go back to my regular work schedule. I don't have to worry about, we have all the lights on in the shop, all the compressors running just to run one machine.
Yeah, yeah.
I do what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where all the creativity is coming from right now, too, is just having that freedom to where if you come up with an idea, do it. Back there, it was like you have to run it through the chain of command to get the okay to be able to do it. Like those, I don't know if you saw them, the El Jefe wheels we did for Sean, that 3-piece 3D. I know Dave Covington has a 30-inch. He's probably the only one with a 30-inch.
If I saw them, I'd probably know 100% which ones they are.
Pretty much, it looks like we took 2 concave car wheel centers and stuck them back to back on a. It's a 3D wheel, a motorcycle wheel, with the center hollow.
Okay.
It was just one of those where I wanted to do it back in the day when we first did our first 3-piece over there, but once you told your boss, hey, we're going to need like $400 per piece in material, plus a wheel and another 20 hours in lathe work, he was just like, no. Just to mess around with something. But that was a cool thing, being able to do it on my own. Sean sent me a drawing of a wheel. He was like, hey, let's make something cool for this bike, something completely wild. I want to do 3D. Well, this is when the 23 5.5s just first came out. There was only 2D. Nobody had thought about making a 3D. I looked into just grabbing a block of aluminum, having it lathed out to be a full 3D 23. You're not doing anything special.
Yeah.
You're doing something somebody did to a 30 and a 32 and all these other sizes. You're just doing it to a 23. So I hit him up. I'm like, you want to make a 3-piece? He's like, go for it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. So a month and a half later, we had this 23 5.5 3-piece 3D with concave lips and all that stuff.
You know, that's one of the things, like, I don't know, I feel like you could talk about it, but like, so wheels come in like blanks, right? So they come in your 2D blanks and your 3D blanks.
Yeah.
And who's providing? Is it Metal Sport, or is it somebody else that provides those blanks?
Yeah, it used to be All American back in the day, and then they shut down, and Metal Sport picked it up, and I think they called it MSI blanks.
Okay.
Yeah, they supply everybody. Anybody in this industry making wheels is supplied through them, unless they're getting them from another supplier that's getting them from overseas, which I've seen. I had a buddy of mine cutting a set of their wheels of those forgings, and I was just like, yee. You know, I made the program for him, sent it to him, and he started cutting, and he's like, oh, the tools are gumming up. This aluminum's weird.
Yeah.
So I went over to the shop to check it out, and I'm like, dude, this is bad.
What do you think it was?
Shitty aluminum.
And just
wasn't heat treated properly, so it was too soft.
Oh.
So as you're cutting through it, it's not chipping, it's just grinding away at it and just gummed up all around.
Almost melting it too a little bit. Yeah.
It was bad. It was scary.
I mean, that's the crazy thing about it, is aluminum is naturally a soft metal. You know what I mean? And so it's the heat treating is what creates that hard.
Yeah. You skip the heat treating, you're going to have soft, gummy metal. And it's just not going to chip. It's not going to clean up right. It just turns into a nightmare to machine. You might as well fucking machine Play-Doh or something at that point.
Definitely not safe to put on a bike in someone's life.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, man, the whole world of this stuff is fascinating. And I think that it's the other thing that I think was a very, misunderstood thing about wheels, because I remember whenever we used to try to order wheels back in the day, PM would be 3 months behind, and it was always a wait, and you never realize, okay, the machine takes time to make these things. It isn't like you'd have to have hundreds of machines running at one time. And from my knowledge, I know that the motorcycle industry can't really fulfill the 100 machine kind of shops. Like, that's more for oil field and medical field type stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
NASA,
more
or less.
I mean, shit, they even sub out
for real
to smaller machine shops.
Yeah.
Because at one point at Ride Right, we started bringing in some aerospace stuff just during slow season to subsidize stuff to keep the guys busy and the lathes running. They pay like shit.
For real?
Yeah, they want bottom dollar. Everyone goes into a bidding war, and they go with the cheapest one. And they take forever to pay, too.
Oh, yeah.
But, no, I mean, it's impossible to have that many machines. I mean, I've been to PM and got a tour of their place. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They're huge. But they're making so many different things, so many different parts. I could see how it takes that long because their volume is just so high.
Yeah.
You could only move so much product in, if you want to move more and you want to get bigger machines and more machines, you got to raise prices. And
does it become worth it? Because I mean, like, if you try to make a demand, you try to overshoot your demand, then next thing you know, you have payments on machines that are, house payments for the most part.
Hell yeah.
It's like, it's just you stay in this happy medium of supply and demand where they still have a wait to get some things in some cases, but not necessarily 3 months.
Yeah, I mean 3 months is a little far out.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to keep it 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes we'll hit 7 or 8, but
I mean, there's also a lot of things at play. So you got the machine time and the list of people already. Plus, then you got polishers,
yep,
chromers, powder coaters, and then shipping going on that is outsourced.
Exactly, and that's if nothing went wrong along that process. Because there's been times where we got something back from Chrome and we're looking at it. Just happened last week. Getting ready to ship the guy's wheel out, wiping it down, and all of a sudden the rag starts snagging on something. I'm like, what the hell is this? There's a fisheye in the chrome. It's like this little blister. Well, started scrubbing it down, and next thing you know, the chrome started to peel off the wheel. Well, that needs to go all the way back out, get stripped, repolished, and then get re-chromed. Well, that just took another week and a half.
Yeah.
And, machines for cutting a 21, I could probably knock a 21 out in 45 minutes if I really wanted to push it and wear out the tools. But I'm not trying to spend $150, $200 per tool a week just to replace them. So I found this happy medium where 21 will take an hour and a half for both sides. A 30 will take about 4 or 5 hours, depending on the design. And, order comes in, have it picked up a few days later from the forgings, and I could have it cut and over to polish within a week and a half. But it's after that's where the waiting begins. And then all of a sudden the chrome plater shows up with a truck full of like 30 wheels for you. You're like, all right, here you go.
Yeah.
Because he's just racked them up and then just ran your stuff all in one production.
Oh,
and now you're struggling to just assemble everything because you don't want to rush assembly.
Yeah.
That's the one place you do not want to rush. So I take my sweet time with assembling.
Nice.
It'll take me 30, 45 minutes a wheel. Press the bearings in, check that they're spinning freely, then put the wheel together, crush tube in, make sure that's spinning freely. And then you wipe it down like 4 different times because now your hands are covered in oil and all this stuff and
grease and shit.
Yeah, and tires and all that. But it's not something I rush. I just take my sweet time. And if somebody gets upset with me, like, hey, we ordered this 4 or 5 weeks ago, I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, most people know, like, anytime someone's ever built a bike or assembled a bike or customized a bike, you kind of know that, like, sometimes you get lucky and some things are on a shelf. And you're like, oh, man, I'll buy it right now. Fuck yeah. But most people know that, like, these things are made to order. Like, there's no financial gain to have 6 of this design. What if, like, you have 2 of that design out, but oh man, I wanted an 8-10-inch rear wheel, not a 16. You're like, fuck,
it happens.
I don't have that. Now I got to go. Or you got a 5.5-inch rear wheel and you wanted this, and you know what I mean. It just gets kind of messy.
We tried that with 26s and 30s. I did 4 designs, 4 designs and a 26 and a 30, and we just put them on the shelf. I get a call, oh, I want that, but I want it in black. Well, I got it in chrome. Well, how long is it going to take? I'm not going to strip that wheel down. There's like $600 into getting the finishing done. I'm not going to throw that away just to get it in black. And but I want that design. There's always something. Yeah. That whatever you have on the shelf, they're going to want something different. So I just threw all that whole thing out the window.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, well, the same thing with me. Like, people are like, well, what if you just paint up a helmet and then sell it? I'm like, then I got to make sure that it fits the guy's head. What if this guy loves the design, but he wears a small and this is an extra large? Yeah. Like, there's just too many variables at play. And plus, people need to be taught patience, especially these days. I
think Amazon's ruined us.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Everybody wants it. Like, where's that tracking number, bro? I'm like, dude, you just ordered this. Oh, yeah. Can I get off the shitter? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just insane. But
that happens at least 3 times a month, easily.
Yeah, and it sucks, man, because, I mean, for you, like, I get to pick and choose the people I do business with. And I'm sure when you're selling something, like, you don't really have that luxury. You're more trying to fit. Every one of these guys or people have different personalities and different levels of understanding. You know what I mean? Some people have absolutely no filter and no compassion towards, like, the fact that these things have to be made, have to go to another place to be done. And then you got some guys like, hey, you know what, man, I understand this process. I get it, man. So, dude, I just want your work or your design, your will, whatever, and I'll wait what it takes,
Yeah, I mean, I get guys that call me like, can you get me something in 2 weeks? I'll be straight with them. If it's not crazy busy here and I could sneak it through, yeah, I'll get it done. But if it's like right now, when I got 30 forgings sitting on a pallet right now that are being ran through, there's no way in hell.
No way. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with them. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit anybody, try to get their money now just to have them wait around. I'd rather pass up a sale, send them to one of my dealers that might have a few wheels in stock, have them make the sale, than me try to rush something through.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, shit. I mean, you got quite a few people, man. Dealers. I mean, like I said, you're making a lot of wheels for a lot of different companies, their own wheels for the most part, right? So, I mean, that's a plus. I mean, basically keep these machines running, and then dollars keep coming in. Right?
Exactly. Find something to keep them moving. I mean, over Christmas break, we closed down for a week or two just to go for the holidays. But when I got back into town, I was just bored. The machines were sitting here. A couple buddies that I go shooting with, they wanted some fixtures made for their spotting scopes and shit like that for long range. So I just bought a few pieces of aluminum, slapped them on the machine, drilled and tapped, and sent it out to them. They took it out to the range. Do
you like find yourself wanting to create more things like that aren't necessarily motorcycle related?
Yeah.
I mean, billet's fucking cool though. So I mean.
Oh, dude. I mean, one of my buddies has his own company that he builds long range rifles, and I own one of them, and you can shoot that thing out to a mile, no problem.
For real.
I've got 2 confirmed hits with his rifle at a mile.
Damn.
And it's dope. He wanted a little block that you could set the rifle on and put it in a vise to where you're not grabbing a bolt action rifle by the barrel or the stock or anything. Just little blocks of aluminum, machined them out, put a little notch on the back so it would clip into the rifle like it was a regular magazine. It's just small stuff like that. That's fun. It's refreshing to step away from motorcycles every once in a while and do something different on these machines when all you're doing is just cutting round wheels all day. That's why the Triple Tree project we did with Sean was fun. Cranked out a few sets of those. He put on a few bikes. We were looking at doing mid controls when they were starting to get popular. But next thing you know, there was like everybody had their own mid control coming out.
Yeah.
And you can only change it so much.
Yeah, and the problem is a lot of people are pulling patents too, and it's really hard to decipher what is patented, what's not, because there's really only a few ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Especially for the baggers and shit like that. But I mean, like the set I got's pretty cool. The Epic mid controls, I dig them. I put quite a few thousand miles on them, and they've worked. But I know PM came out with the set, and then they immediately pulled it off the shelf, and I think it's because I know Epic had a patent on their design, and
it was pretty much almost very, very similar.
Yeah.
We just stepped away from that. We saw all the issues and the patents and all that kind of stuff going around, and it's like, why are we going to try to get into something that everybody's ahead of us in?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that the price point's going to be great. I mean, that's kind of like the give and take on this on making parts is like, you want to be in this sweet spot where you have this high dollar item, so a wheel, and then you can back and have like something in your $500 to $1,000 range, which might be, some real intricate bar and riser or triple tree setup.
Yeah.
And then you want to get back to your $100 to $200 range, which could be pegs or grips or something more like small and trinket like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple things lined up right now with the new machine we're getting in. On stuff like that.
What's the new machine going to be? And like,
what's it?
Is it like, what are the ones out here? What are their?
Oh, the 2 I got out here are mills. One of them could do up to 26s. The other could do up to 32s. The lathe I'm getting is for hubs because we were sending them out to a local shop down here to get them made. But you buy 1,000 pieces of material and you could only cut them one time. So we just made everything for baggers. Once we get the lathe here, now I can start experimenting with side cuts into the hubs, lightening them up on the back, taking more material out of them, and trying to figure out where that sweet spot is, like we were talking about, for performance stuff. Taking off that weight from the center and just evening it out throughout the wheel so you don't have a heavy spot.
So is the lathe kind of one of those things too where it's also like a programmable, you put the program in it and it creates it, or you like sitting there with a fucking dial and like
Yeah, same deal with the programming. It's a lot easier actually than wheels because there is no 3D. You're cutting on a 2-axis setup on an X and a Z, or they call it D and Z. So just your depth and your height. It's so much easier and faster and funner to program. You could knock out a lathe program in 5 minutes if you have the drawing done, while a mill program you're looking at 20 minutes to 30 minutes easily. And lathes do scare me a lot more than running a mill. Because on the mill, you have the part bolted down and it's just a little tool spinning. The tool snaps, big deal. With the lathe, you got a chunk of aluminum spinning at you at like 1,500 to 2,000 RPM, and the tool's on the turret. So if anything's flying out of that thing, it's a chunk of aluminum. And all you got this little door with a little plexiglass plate.
So the way that would work, though, is it like for some areas, the lathe is going to be creating your depth and bores, but then you'd have to almost put it on the mill as well,
yeah,
to get your star it out and everything.
Yeah, I mean they do have lathes that have live tooling too, so it's like a mix of a lathe with milling in there.
Okay.
Those are dope, but at the price point, it's not really worth it for me yet. I mean, it's almost double the price.
I mean, that's another axis, right? Like
Yeah.
Another pivot point.
Yeah, it's a whole different monster to do that. And then at that point, you're like, okay, well, if I'm spending the money extra to get live tooling so I could do the milling and drilling and tapping on this thing, why don't I just get a second spindle so I could do the second side? So you end up just putting one piece in and pulling out a finished part instead of flipping it over and doing the second side. But that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, but I got other machines I want to buy before I get to those kind of lathes.
Well, that's cool, man. I think that's pretty fascinating. Like I said, I don't know. It's weird because I've had machinists on a lot on this podcast, just almost as much as painters in some aspects. But I find it fucking fascinating, man, because it's like, first off, computers are fucking interesting to me, and then you got all the stuff that's going on with these machines and how you're programming it in a computer, and especially when you look at those drawings and the CAD stuff and the like that was the first time I ever saw it do the tool pass thing. I was like, dude, how do you not play with that all night? You know what I mean?
Right? It's just so fascinating that you take a little tool and just create anything you want out of it. It's just, back in the day, they used to have it to do it manually on the Bridgeport, come down, cut, and I mean, I've made custom hubs on the lathe before. It was a nightmare. It would take about 45 to 50 minutes just to do one side of it, to get it all clean, get the dimensions right and the depths right. And back, on the Bridgeport, you're doing it by hand, same deal. And on the mill, it's literally just in the computer, just put your dimensions, put how deep you want to cut. 5 minutes in, your program's posted, you're running.
Nice.
It's just so much more convenient nowadays than it was back then.
Do you think a lot of wheels are going to go towards more, like, does it make more sense to do the more skinny hubs or the more trimmed out hubs on like the bigger wheel stuff too as well? Or would you still want more wheel space? I mean, like, I don't get the...
Honestly, for the bigger stuff, I wouldn't really bother with it, especially if they're running these big rotors like the 18s, because now you got this skinnier hub that has a lot of material ripped out of it, and then you got this big rotor that's going to have a lot more torque on these little ears. I'm not saying that's going to flex or break, but if you take too much out, you might start getting to that point, and it just doesn't go with the style, though.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, I had a customer out in the East Coast. He did a 26... Spadafora Choppers built it for him.
Okay.
He did a 26 dual disc in some like Ford blue with dual Galfa rotors.
I think I saw that bike.
It was an all-white one.
Yeah.
That bike looked badass. It was bringing a mix of performance in. The wheel design worked out with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to go with those performance-style hubs on that wheel.
Yeah. It makes more sense to keep more meat on it just for the flexibility of it. Basically.
Exactly. And you got the 26, and even on the lean, your axle's still sitting there taking all that pressure to the hub. I wouldn't do it. I just leave a solid full hub.
Yeah, that makes sense. So have you pretty much I imagine these wheels have gone everywhere from Dubai to fucking all these different places. Anything crazy like out any place that you wouldn't think that you've shipped wheels before? They wouldn't be on the list of I never would have thought somebody would have bought a wheel there.
Oh man.
No Chernobyls or anything like that?
No, not yet. I mean, oddest place, Russia.
Yeah,
even though it doesn't sound that odd.
That's kind of weird though, because you don't really think of Russia to have a motorcycle scene at all.
Yeah, all of a sudden one day we get a call from, this was back when I was at Ride Right, and guy wanted 6 sets of wheels.
Damn.
And he was building them for the president over there. I was like,
nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, that's probably the oddest. Malaysia, their scene's starting to grow there. But
every time someone says Malaysia, I think of Will Ferrell and fucking and Zoolander. Yeah. Doesn't matter anywhere, anytime I read it, Malaysian airline lost. I'm like, fucking Mugatu got it. No, that's crazy, man. I was gonna ask you something. Oh, you ever notice like some of like the European, like the Italian stuff, like all the billet shit they're making, like they're doing like what are they, like girder style front ends that have like radial brake calipers on it and all kinds of crazy shit, and it's all billet too, is what it looks like.
They're getting fucking creative over there.
How? I don't get it. I don't understand they probably like wrap in Italian leather too. It's like billet, carbon fiber, then Italian leather on the front forks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit.
There was a company out there, I can't remember who they were, but they were making some carbon fiber parts for Dynas and FXRs.
Yeah. The dude, I know you're talking about, because the dude kept taking selfies all the time on his Instagram page. I had to stop following him. I'm like, dude, I'm looking for carbon fiber shit.
Yeah,
I don't want to
not
see
you.
your fucking eyebrows raised like The Rock and shit.
I saw this dope idea that on this guy's Instagram page. He took the triple trees and he put a brake line banjo in there, and then ran the brake lines through the triple trees.
Yeah.
Between the upper and the lower, he ran a solid line, and then just had it threaded all the way through for a dyna he was doing. I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, it's
Like, they come up with some weird ideas out there, and it works out. But it's like, they might have more time on their hands than we do. And we're always...
I don't really know what I mean, I've never even looked into it, but I don't know if they're like, their country's rich in a sense of there's enough money to allow leisure time or creativity like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, my uncle lives out in Italy, and he always seems to be relaxed, kicking back, enjoying life out there. It might just be a cultural thing for them over there. While here, it's always, you got to hustle, you got to get up early, you got to get to work, you got to do your shit.
You just look at the engineering on the cars out there from there to Germany, and how much, like, you know, a next level they are on the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I wish we could do that. Like, I don't know what it is. We should just probably take a trip out there and for a month and just sit around and see what the hell they're doing.
Be like the Asians at SEMA trying to take pictures of everybody's shit so they can knock it off.
Oh, dude, that shit's hilarious. They come in like 3 inches of your shit and they start taking 20 pictures. You're like,
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous, man. The first time I went there, like, everybody was like, so there's going to be a lot of Asians here, and they're going to be taking pictures of everything, and you're going to see it on eBay next month for half price.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny because you remember when Arlen Ness and PM got knocked off, and they were making all the billet parts for them, and they were online for, like, you know, grips were like $40 when they're normally 90.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that shit's crazy.
Dude, it's ridiculous. I mean, the manufacturing capabilities that they have out there, it's scary. Mostly because labor's so fucking cheap.
Yeah.
Aluminum's costing them the same. The machines are costing them the same. But the guy working on it costs them $1 an hour.
Yeah. No matter what, I've held in my hand like one of those knockoff parts, like a Ness or a PM knockoff part and a real one, and it never felt full in like the same product. You know?
Yeah, it's like...
It felt lighter, like that your buddy's shitty aluminum.
Yeah, it's like they hollowed it out, or they just had bubbles in the material when it was casted or forged or some shit. It's like, it's going to fall apart on me, isn't it? Nah, we used to do our own like stress test. Just grab a sledgehammer and hit the wheel right down the center where the hub goes, and just beat the shit out of it. Did that China wheel, dude. All 12 spokes after the third hit. I mean, my buddy's not that big. He's maybe 6'7", a little bit taller than me, but skinny dude. Third hit, you just hear it go dink, and the whole thing just dropped down the center. Cracked. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. I fuck. I would hate that.
It's sketch, dude. Especially on a motorcycle wheel.
Where do you kind of see things going motorcycle wise? I mean, you're kind of in the mix of like seeing what's being purchased. So is big wheel shit still going strong, or is everybody going towards the fat tire wheel in that sense?
Dude, it's confusing as shit right now because 1 week it's all 30s. And then every now and then you get a couple guys that want the 34s and the 32s. The wide tire stuff is taking off a little bit more. It's a little better than it was last year. I don't think it's going to get as crazy as the big wheel bagger stuff did. And I'm still kind of waiting to see the performance side kick in. I mean, I totally get it. You got a 19 and an 18-inch setup on most of these performance bikes, and they ride great. But the last thing, even me, if I'm building my own performance bike and I didn't have this wheel company, the last thing I would do is the wheels too.
Yeah.
Because you want your suspension, you want your motor, you want everything else, and then the final touch would be the wheels because that's what will bring everything together.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't think anybody's going to be able to tell which direction the industry's headed in, because you have so many different options and so many different styles and so many different personalities out there on these bikes that, you know, like one of my buddies, he was thinking about buying his first Harley. He wants to get a Road King. He wants to get that green one that they had in 2019. He didn't want to do anything to it. He just wanted to put bars on it, and I was making him put wheels on it. He didn't have an option on that. An option. But that's it. You know, he's the type of guy that wants to keep his shit stock. And he's only like 34, 35. Got another buddy of mine. He's already buying stuff for a bike he doesn't have yet. So
those guys are cool.
I love those guys. I'm like, what kind of bike you have? He's like, I'm not sure yet. I'm still debating, but I want to buy wheels. I'm like, well, find out what bike you need. But it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's really hard to see where it lands, and realistically, I like the fact that it's not landing in one side or not, because it keeps things interesting.
Yeah, you got to stay on your toes. If you don't know where the ball's going to go, you just got to stay on top of everything and do everything. And I think that's great for the consumer. You know, I'd love to expand the product line faster, but just being swamped with wheels and stuff, it's a slow transition to do other stuff. But I mean, dude, I've got a notebook at home with just pages and pages of ideas. Stuff, whether we're taking it from the sport bike culture and bringing it into the Harley culture, or just random covers and cosmetic stuff. Bolt on shit for your bike that'll cost you, $75 to $100. Quick and easy to move. It'll make you happy. You could have it right away because it's going to be in stock. You don't have to wait.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the big wheel bagger thing, I don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah, it's kind of like, remember when like car wheels became big wheels? It went from like right around 2000, it was all about like 22s and 20s was the thing. Remember fucking Day and them?
Yeah.
they 10s, so I keep them clean. But it's like, when that stuff comes around, it's like it's hard to see. Like if I was going to say that like a big wheel, like for sure 26 and 23 is always going to have a home. I think the 30 thing might kind of die off because there's so much more work that goes into doing a 30 bike. But the 26 still fits and it's still rideable and it's still within reason, right? The 23, same thing for sure.
Yeah, 23s are easy.
But, like it's kind of like I wouldn't. The reason that the performance stuff works is because it fits the style of bike. You're leaving short bags on it. You're not stretching anything, and so it works. But like there's still that guy out there that wants stretch bags, even if they're just 4-inch stretch.
Exactly.
That's something we've been conditioned to for since Ness came out with those little glue-on extensions that everybody was doing back in 03.
I remember those.
You know what I mean? Like those things came along, and that started creating that stretched look, which for a while was the shit. And then one day my buddy used to call it a flat butt syndrome, because if you ever look at just a normal 4-inch stretch bike with the rear fender and shit, and then you got a big wheel on it, 23 or 26, it's like looks like you have a ice chest on the back of your bike, and then the front's all kind of laid out and kind of has this directional flow to it, and then the back end just drops off.
Yeah.
So it looks like a frog butt.
It's like forgotten back there.
Yeah. And then they started giving a little bit of a swoop to it, and then it got out of hand, and then it's kind of dialed back now. But yeah, dude, it's kind of weird how you look at the side profile, and for a while it was cool. When John Shope came out with that Dirty Money one, and he only had 4-inch stretch bags, and it fucking fit. 26, it looked badass. But then the style changed, and then now when I see that ass, and I'm like, it looks weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where the big wheel bagger thing's going to go, if it's going to change at all. I mean, they got, people are constantly coming out with small new changes, subtle changes to their products and stuff, making it look a little cleaner, a little doper. We haven't been doing as much 30s as we usually do. We've been doing a lot more 26s, like a lot more. And then the 34s, it's an oddball.
Yeah, dude, 32 is a fucking
even that
stretch.
Yeah.
Those things are huge. They're heavy. 30's heavy, man. Like I've always found it hard to do a 30 and anything but a Road King. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it'll look right.
Yeah.
Because now your fairing's sitting up, where you have to notch the center of the fairing just to get the wheel to center in there, and all the headlights and all that shit going around it. With a Road King, it was just clean. You had that little nacelle on the front. You just had to adjust the height of it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it flows with the rest of the bike. I mean, I've seen some really good looking, street glides and road glides that were done up really well, but just not my thing.
Not your thing, yeah. It's weird because I wouldn't say it's not my thing because like that, when I was up at Covington's and I was looking at those bikes that they built, I'm like, dude, like I can appreciate the craftsmanship and the build and the curb appeal of these bikes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They look sick. I mean, it's almost like saying, like a lowrider is ugly because it's not functional or form. You know what I mean? It's no, it's still sick for what it is, but like now we're on something else, and I think this is more enjoyable. So fuck it, Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I still love big wheel baggers. I just personally like we were talking earlier. If I had money to get the Road King, I would totally do a big wheel bagger Road King.
Yeah, maybe
maybe a 26 would be my limit on it. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. I mean, I do other dumb shit that people look at me and go, "Why are you doing that and not this?" So,
yeah.
I understand everybody has their own opinion on stuff, and I respect that. And, do what you want. And if you got some wacky, crazy idea, let me know. We'll fucking do it.
We'll fucking make it happen.
Yeah.
So, for sure, like, you were talking about moving. You really thinking about going to Phoenix or,
Yeah.
Is it just that much cheaper to be in Phoenix versus Anaheim here?
Just cost of living alone, and then all the shit with the state.
Yeah.
And just dealing
They fuck with
all
you
that
on, like,
bullshit.
machines and stuff? Like, you don't have any, like,
What
fluids in
machines? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not bad. I mean, everything's water soluble.
Yeah.
And once we clean the machines out every 6 months, we have a company come in, haul all the coolant out. They pump it out into tanks and charge us for it and all that crap. I wouldn't want to dump it down the drain anyways because that stuff's weird.
Yeah,
Just,
and it
I don't know
can
what's in
land
that
back
oil.
at your house,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just California's getting too crowded and there's too much bullshit.
Yeah, we were driving up from San Diego, and she's like, "Look at all that pollution." I was like, "No, that's more ocean spray. You see how it's blue?"
Yeah.
And then we got a little bit closer to, like, was it Tustin or what's
Oh, yeah. You probably shot through, like, Irvine area.
Irvine? I was like,
Yeah.
"See that? That's pollution." It was like a grayish brown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's bad. I mean, I live 2.5 miles from here,
Uh-huh.
and it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to get home.
That's fucking
And
insane.
I'm just like, okay. I have two options. Take the freeway. That's about a 30-minute drive just because of traffic all the way up.
Yeah.
Or take side streets, and that's got a bunch of backed up traffic, but that's 15 to 20 minutes.
Damn.
So it's just like, and the cost of living's stupid high.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't rent a house for anything under $3,400 nowadays.
God damn.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
That's insane. And I feel like it, moving towards the center of the country anyway, it's just better logistically with shipping. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like shipping, for me, that's why I always tell people, it's like, it ain't shit to ship tins to Texas no matter where you're at because it's technically the short, like a halfway distance.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's 3 days there.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think the 4-day shipping that we have going out of Texas is usually like if you're kind of far from a city, like if you're out in the cut, then, you're going to look at like a 4-day shipping. Because I know like going to the Bay Area from Dallas, it's like 3 days if you're in San Francisco, but if you're outside the city, then it's like 4
extra
days.
day. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, even if I send stuff up to like northern, like far north California, it'll take 2 days.
Yeah. And like Texas for us is all 1-day shipping. You know what I mean? So it's like Texas and Oklahoma, it's weird because like if you can imagine where Dallas is, it's all shipping everywhere is 1 day except for El Paso and Amarillo. Mm-hmm. But Oklahoma's panhandle is 1 day still.
Okay, yeah, because
It makes no
just
fucking
close
sense.
enough.
No, it's further. But for some reason, it just doesn't. It's a really weird map if you look at the UPS shipping deal.
Yeah, that's also a big plus. I mean, it saves customers on shipping costs from us too. I mean, fuck, if I ship something from here to Florida, a 30-inch wheel with a tire on it, that's a 37-inch box by like 9 inches wide.
God damn.
It's $150 to ship it.
That's not too bad. I mean, it's bad. I get it because most people aren't really factoring in that once they buy that wheel, the shipping could be another chunk. But I mean, shipping boxes all over the country, it's like, I was thinking like $250, $300, but that's just ground shipping.
That's just basic ground. I mean,
I remember one day when Lindahl was making the last set of wheels that they did for our last bagger, things kept getting held up, and I had to have my bike sitting on blocks waiting on the set of wheels to show up, and the bike's got to be in the show at 2 p.m. The wheels overnighted, showed up at 10 a.m., and of course these wheels had to be put on. Spacers had to be kind of finagled to get to the show.
Yeah.
And a sprocket with a chain, and it's like we made it, But I mean, he spent like $600 something.
I believe it.
Like either per wheel or for the, I don't know. But he ate it and he took care of it. But
no, that's good.
You know,
but still, like that's a lot of money. I had a buddy of mine. He was trying to ship out a 23-inch out to Florida. It was like $650 overnight.
Holy shit!
He looked online. He found a ticket for $350. He flew out there, dropped the wheel off, and came back the next day. It was cheaper to fly out.
That's crazy.
I just threw it on carry-on. All right, cool. We're good to go.
I remember my buddy. He came to a long time ago. Remember when Ass Kicker was around, like that company? So they had those ape hangers that had like those little crowns that you could put at the top. And he had a Road King. He was kind of deciding if he wanted to go like the Cholo style or the big wheel style. Mm-hmm. And so he was in Arizona, so he went and picked up those bars and just took them on carry-on. He's sitting in his lap just the whole time in an airplane holding a set of ape hangers, just, trying not to hit the people next to him and shit. And it's just like
that would have been fun to see. That definitely would have been fucking funny.
I never thought about, I've heard it now, but, thinking about people just throwing shit on the carry-on or even like flying Southwest, you can fucking check that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Under a certain amount of pounds,
Yeah, but I mean, what's a few extra pounds? It's cheaper than
it's still cheaper than shipping it. Yeah,
and you got to get a little mini vacation out of it.
Yep. That's why I don't know. We used to travel a lot, and like to when I was going back and forth to NorCal, like to me, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll drive up there, drop off this bagger, pick up another one, and maybe another bike to paint them, and then bring them back. I looked at it like, fuck, man, like I'm getting a week vacation to go up there and hang out on the beach and see all my friends. I don't do it anymore because I don't have the time, but still that was a fun thing to do. And most of you are like, dude, you're crazy. You got a delivery system for fucking 1,700 miles away. I'm like, dude, it
works.
I mean, I'm not doing it to fucking Kentucky, but I'll do it to goddamn California for sure.
Yeah. So, a week out there, especially up north, it's way better than down here.
I just got so many friends up there, man. It's like going up there, going to California in general. Like she's got family here. I've got friends everywhere. And it's like, there's really no such thing as coming to California to do our own thing. It's like, no, we got to go see all our friends.
Yeah.
And fortunately, or not fortunately, but unfortunately, it's like Texas doesn't have the same allure to where these motherfuckers will come see us yet. So hopefully one day.
Soon. But yeah, no, we're super stoked about the move. I mean, it's just going to open up so many more doors too, because you saw how tight it is back there, especially with that other machine coming in. There's going to be enough room just to pull the forklift in and call it a day.
Yeah.
But being able to move out to a bigger building, less overhead, less everything, we can slowly expand the company in a more proper way than trying to do it out here. Because here, if I hire somebody, whatever I'm paying him, I'm putting another 20 to 25% on top of that just to pay for taxes.
Yeah.
And, you can't pay somebody $15 an hour out here. It ain't shit.
Yeah.
You can't even afford an apartment with that. So you got to pay a livable wage for somebody to do something that's only worth $10, $12 an hour. To clean a wheel and put it in a box, it's not that hard.
Yeah. That's why I never understood like people like going crazy with the whole like minimum wage thing. Like it doesn't really work across the board. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a system. Like I guess we're kind of probably not qualified to talk about that type of shit, but it's like if I couldn't hire somebody, like someone that doesn't know how to do a job in my shop that's getting an entry level position, $14 fucking is ridiculous. Like no, dude, you're getting barely $7.25.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Entry level pay for entry level position.
But if like you apply yourself and you catch on quickly, then you can make money. And people don't get that. They don't get that. They want to like start off the bat, and it's like no, like you can't. And businesses can't afford to pay that because. And the weirdest thing is that everybody thinks that because you're in business for yourself that you have money. No.
I haven't seen a paycheck since I started this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, my whole life is a write-off at this point, and I'm trying to like get by and shit. And it's like it's not this like get rich thing. It's like yes, it does alleviate things so it looks like your life might be a little bit more better because I don't have to complain about the traffic. I can wait till it goes.
Exactly.
But then I'm also here till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You just choose which you're still working the same amount, probably double if you're being honest with yourself. You're just having to pull from different areas, man. And it's
that's really it. I mean, I didn't get into this to buy fucking fancy cars and fancy watches and shit like that. I mean, my truck's been paid off. It's a 2014. I just maintain it, repair it, keep it running, keep it looking decent.
Yeah.
And that's it. The only thing I bought that's new for me is the bike, which I needed for the business. And I'm just doing this because it's fun. You know, it's a hobby of mine. It's a passion of mine. And, you know, the perks of it, yeah, it pays the bills.
Yeah.
But every time I make a little bit of extra money, I'm looking into the back of the shop going, all right, what do I need for this place?
Yeah, I need another machine, or I need tools, I need this.
Exactly. And you just improve and
Do
invest.
you have the same problem? Like, for me, it's nothing to throw $1,500 at something for the shop versus, like, if I'm going to buy myself something that's around that price, it's like a week-long debate with myself. Like, fuck, man, do I need it?
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I'll literally have a $1,500 paint bill, and I'm like, well, there's that.
Yeah, no big deal.
You know?
Not a problem. Like, just like on forgings, you know, $10,000, $12,000 purchase orders. All right,
Yeah.
cool, no problem. Here you go. My computer at home, the graphic card burnt out.
Oh, shit.
Dude, it was like a 3-week debate.
What's your what's this computer out here set up with? Like, how's it dialed? Like, what kind of CPU you running out there?
I'm running AMD Ryzen 8 core.
Okay.
So every core functions individually, so it's got a little bit better processing. I'm running a 1080 graphic card.
Okay.
It's just one I pulled out of my home computer before. I had 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because I had 3 35-inch monitors and all this crazy shit going on, so I had like full panoramic view around me, just for fucking video games.
Hell yeah.
So I sold 2 of the monitors because it was overkill. There was so much heat coming out of those things. Even in wintertime, it was like 80 degrees in my room. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm running that with like 16 gigs of RAM, 2 solid state drives, and M.2 hard drive that Windows is installed on only. So that computer, from the time you hit the power button till it fully boots up, is like 30 seconds.
Oh,
Everything
nice.
just kicks up. Solid state drives, they just load so much faster and smoother. And then the graphic card really helps with all the renderings and stuff, just to keep everything streamlined and smooth.
So that's what the computer, like, this is a MacBook Pro that we got, and it's the 17 model, which I don't think they've really updated this yet, but it couldn't handle the video thing. So, like, when we tried to plug in all the video content, it was crashing this computer. So that's why we ended up going to the other thing. We were doing the fucking, what is that?
That's the graphic card that
That's the
fried in my
graphic-
house computer.
Shit.
Yeah, it took 3 weeks for me to figure out, okay, let me buy a new one.
How many RAMs is in that? Or gigs? Is it a gig one or what?
Yeah.
Do you know they got those now where you get them with, they end up becoming faster.
This is 8 gig.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'm running on mine.
Yeah. No, I mean, this thing was great until it burnt.
But yeah, so what happened is because the graphic cards wasn't good enough, getting those feeds from the cameras was causing this computer to run at like 90%.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you went to live stream it or
It's just-
whatever, and so we did a whole podcast and recorded the video, but it was dropping frame rates. So it was like, instead of recording at like 24p or, frames
Yeah.
per second, it would be like 4 frames per second because it was trying to compensate for the lack
Yeah.
of memory it had. So then I went and I was like debating on, do I go MacBook or do I go Mac Pro? You know what I mean? Like with one of those $6,000 computers
Yeah.
that still has a lot of limitations. Like I mapped it out to get a Mac to do the video shit with the same stuff I could do with. I went with Alienware. It was gonna be a $13,000 computer.
Yeah.
And then the one I got ended up with all the specials from Black Friday and all that. It was a $4,000 computer that I got for $3,000.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
And I can upgrade it. still.
exactly. You
Yeah.
just unplug this, plug a new one in, you're
Yeah.
good to go. Download drivers and all done.
So I had to buy this thing. It's called a fuck, I'm drawing a blank, but it's a card for video inputs. So it has like 4 HDMI inputs.
Yeah.
So that basically I could bring in all these sources of footage. And I forgot what the name was, but that card alone was $1,000.
Yeah, but that thing's bringing them in at full FPS, whatever you want to bring in at.
So now I have that computer, that card, and then I got 1 camera. I need to get 2 more for a full 3 camera setup.
That'll be dope.
And then the last card slot, I was going to run the laptop here. Even though the computer's going to do all the work, this laptop could be like, we can have this feed coming out and going to a TV that the people in the studio can see.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it can go to the screen to record live. So
hell yeah.
if we're like talking about your wheel, like when you brought up the high roller, is that which one did you say it was?
El Jefe.
El Jefe,
The
there you
3D
go.
3-piece one, yeah.
Then we'd be able to pull it up real quick on here and show it on the thing.
Pops in on the feed.
Yeah, and we'll
Yeah,
be able to
that'd
look at it here and on the recorded feed. And it's just like the other thing. So I need 2 more computers and a producer. And I can't afford a producer right now.
Dude,
That's
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
The computers thing it's awesome because like literally after my graphic card burnt, 3 weeks later, I finally, ponied up and bought a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I know I messed up somewhere, but I managed to fry the motherboard and my CPU at the same time.
Holy shit.
So I'm not sure if the CPU is fried. I just didn't want to risk it. So I went out and bought a new motherboard, a new CPU and all that and put it together. But all in all, it only ran me like $800.
It's not too bad.
To rebuild my computer. Now it's, it was 4 years old when it burnt. Now it's, brand new and it's running 10 times smoother and faster, and it's just like, okay.
So I have I had two computers that I ran my vinyl cutter on, right? One was an old, we're talking about Windows, what was right after XP?
7.
So it was running Windows 7. It's gone. So it ran Windows 7, but I never put it on the internet because when you put it on the internet, it was just force updates, and then if you get a fucking virus, which on anything but Mac was like always happening. So I never did it, and then it finally just gave out. Fortunately, I backed up all my vector files and stuff into like a drive, and then I still had the laptop. The laptop was newer, and so now everything's running off the laptop. But I want to almost see if I can go take that to like a one of those OG computer guys and see if he can go through and kind of fortify it a little bit with like good RAM and stuff, but continue to run the Windows 7, because if I have to change to XP, which I'm going to say numbers about a program that you're going to laugh at, because I know what those programs cost to run, but it's like $800 for a program to do this stuff, which to upgrade it and put it on the new computer is going to be an $800 program. And then my vinyl cutter is now 14 years old and it still works with this computer, but it's not going to work with the new computer. So I'm going to have to get a new vinyl cutter, which is like $2,000.
Yep.
And I use it, but not enough to justify spending another $2,000 or $3,000 on it.
I wouldn't. I mean, there's people out there that they could either just clear out your laptop from all the old stuff, put everything on a separate outside drive, so you're not bogging it down with all the shit inside of it. So you pretty much leave it like a brand new laptop. It doesn't matter how old it gets. It's still going to run unless you have a bunch of shit in there.
Well, that was the good thing, is that laptop that I got was like a 250 gig back in the day when I got it, like 2012, I think.
Yeah, that was
it
huge
was still,
it
was back then. It was doing good, and it ain't got shit on it, so.
Just leave all the files off of it. It should be fine.
And I'm just running that computer, so.
Yeah, that should be enough.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because, eventually I am going to have to upgrade it and all this shit, but it's like right now with all this podcast stuff, it's just like, it's kind of like, it makes no sense from a business standpoint. Like, you just purchased a new machine, but that new machine is going to what pays your bills.
It's actually saving me money.
Yeah, this right here is just like a hobby that I really fucking love doing, and that I see potential in it.
Yeah.
So I'm like funneling money into it to try to grow it and make it, what really scares me is that like some company that has a shit ton of money goes and pays some dude that talks real well to do exactly what I'm doing, and kind of washes me out of this because I don't have the funds to keep up with something like that. So,
yeah, but you're still gonna have a lot to beat that guy out of it too.
Yeah,
they're just giving him money. Money doesn't do shit anymore.
Yeah,
it'll buy you stuff, but it's not gonna keep you around.
Well, a more professional podcast, like listening to it, would be my thing. Is like, I'm trying to funnel money to make the quality good, but I'm also like constantly trying to learn how to be a better talker and a better host and shit. So it's like, even though I don't think that it's noticeable over like a short amount of podcasts that people might listen to, but I don't get drunk on these things like I used to. So that's like growth, right?
I guess.
I'm like trying to, be more professional. So it's those kind of things. You want to try to create this, like, you want this professional but still kind of hood thing going on,
But then it's the industry too.
Yeah.
I mean, my girlfriend tells me all the time, you need to be more professional. I'm like, but hey, it's our industry.
Yeah, we're
not suits and ties.
Yeah.
We're bikers. We grew up riding with wind in your face and all that kind of crap that they spew about, growing up on bikes. But the reality of it is, every time a bike rolls by as we're walking out on the street, you better believe my head's going to fucking turn.
Yeah.
I got to see what it is. Even if it's a little Vespa that's making noise, I'm going to turn and look at it.
Yeah.
We're just gearheads, and that's it.
Exactly.
So, you could get a suit and tie and all that kind of stuff in this industry for corporate level shit that none of us want to deal with. Great. But for everything else, you can't.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I want it to be to where like we can grow into like not corporate. Like, I want to be able to bring on bigger and bigger companies, but still have all the ground level dudes that I think are our biggest draws personally. But like I want it to be everything. I want you to be able to one day hear from the owner of, Jade Affiliated, and then next day I want you to hear from, my buddy FXR Mike, who works on locomotives.
Yeah.
Like I want it to always have that feel of like going from one end of the spectrum to the other, And dude, I'm into fucking photography and videography. Like I would love to have those people on. I don't know how much the audience would like, but fuck it, somebody will like it, and if not, skip to the next one. You know
Exactly. That's why there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm not like even when I first started listening to your stuff. Funny enough, the first one I listened to was the one that you had with Sean.
Yeah.
And
how many fucks did you count?
Oh, I lost track. But it's just how it is.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, as I was listening to that podcast, that's when Sean called me and told me he was going to link me up with you so we could start talking about wheels and stuff. It was just weird how everything just came around full circle, like within an hour.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's been some that I've scrolled through. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is really interesting. I want to see what this guy has to say. And then there's some of them that I've listened to where it's like, okay, cool. It wasn't like, it was good. There was still good knowledge in there, but it just wasn't something that I'm into.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine, because if I'm not into it, my buddy might be into it. So it doesn't matter. Like just with my wheels, I'm not going to have the best design that's going to suit everybody's, what they want.
Yeah.
I do what I like, what I think is going to be dope. If they think it's dope too, that's fucking awesome. If they don't, that's cool too. I might have something else that they might like.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line of it. I'm not trying to please everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is one of those deals where you can't please everyone.
It's impossible. You're going to burn yourself out trying to do that.
For sure. So, man, I guess we can wrap this up. Where can everybody find these wheels at, other than or just where?
I mean, you can check them out on the site, jadeaffiliated.com, or just give us a call at the shop. All the info is on the site really, and on our Instagram, Jade Affiliated too. And we got plenty of dealers out there, plenty of vendors. Anybody could sign up as long as they got a proper shop too.
Yeah.
Really anywhere, honestly. We're everywhere.
You're just whoring it out.
Yeah, pretty much. Nah.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate this, man.
Dude,
it was a
pleasure. It was
good
awesome.
time talking. So
Definitely, dude.
Cool. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Had a great time talking. Thank you, sir, for sitting down and giving us some time of your day and some insight into your business and world. You guys, I just want to let you guys know about our Patreon. It is what helps fund and create more content for this podcast. So if you're interested in joining, all you got to do is go to our website, fastlifegarage.com. On the front page, there's a link to our Patreon. And as soon as you click that link, it takes you right to it, to where you can donate whatever you feel comfortable with, whether it's $1 a month or $5 or $10, however much you feel like you want to do. It's going to give you the opportunity to also win some of the things that we are giving away through our podcast. So last month, we gave away a care package from Lexan, a care package from Boosted Brad. This month, we're going to do the same thing again, probably on the next 2 podcasts we release. And I don't know what these companies are going to send you. They're just going to put some stuff together and send it to you. So I'm just trying to provide more things that you guys can benefit from supporting this podcast. And I'm working on a panel right now for paint that will, give away as well. That'll be framed and something you can hang up in your garage or your house, depending on what your old lady lets you do. And I'm just going to try to create some things to give away that are unique and different, and get some of our sponsors on board to drop off some product and swag to you guys. So, don't forget, that's where you get it on. That's the only way you can win that stuff, is to be a part of our Patreon support system. And as we start to do bigger and bigger giveaways, they'll become tiers to where, like, a $5 tier will allow you to be in the running to win this or that or blah, 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 So anyway, check it all out. That's where we get our support from, as well as our sponsors. You guys, if you're ever just interested in anything our sponsors do, just check them out. You can go to their websites, their Instagram, their Facebook, and just talk to them. Maybe they can provide you something or help you fulfill the need that you need in the motorcycle world. And speaking of that, check out SimpsonMotorcycleHelmets.com and Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram. Dream Rides John on Instagram and TeamDreamRides.com. Big Bear Choppers on Instagram and BigBearPerformance.com. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and PaintHuffer.com, and FastLife12 for 10% off. Thundermax EFI on Instagram and ShopTmax.com. Lexan Moto on Instagram and Lexan-Moto.com. Offer code FastLife for 15% off. And last but not least, Boosted Brad on Instagram and boostedbrad.com. Fast Life for 5% off. You guys check these guys out. They're there. They're helping this podcast just like our Patreon supporters and allowing us to do these podcasts you've been listening to for the last couple of weeks. A lot of that was supported through the fact that we were able to use sponsorship money and Patreon money to go to California to record podcasts with people. So check it out. Thank you guys for joining us again. We will be back on Thursday with Tony from Shred Moto. Really looking forward to having this guy on. So stay tuned. We'll be back. Thanks.